Namaste, Jai Bharat. The most interesting thing in Marx is that Marx had been very highly speculative and also was very romantically speculative. He had fantasized about his entire theory, but at the same time believing that he had been right through scientific. He tries to make everything scientific, but it's absolutely speculation when you look at it. So you look at his all theories. He romanticized society, and he romanticized his concept of man, and he romanticized the ongoing movement of society in time to forward times. And he has taken the help from Hegel's dialectics to spell out his romanticized speculations about going forward, societies moving forward, and he went up to naming different stages of society as different epochs, and etc. 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 If you start speaking, there is no end to the romantic speculations of Marx. Similarly, even many others great speculators, especially not really much in philosophy, but much in political thinking. You see, most of the Greek thinkers, they were more speculative about political thoughts than metaphysical or epistemological, etc., or moral principle thinking. Aristotle, Plato, Pythagoras, they were all great thinkers, especially they were more concerned about the statecraft, states, etc. Here the point is, suddenly two things comes to my mind. One is that Bangladesh professor, I think his name is Shahabuzaman. Anyway, that name remains of Khalikuzaman. Let me come to that later. First, the new chief minister of Delhi, that's her name is Atishi Marlino, yes, Marlino. His parents were professors at Delhi University. They belong to my generation in any case, and our generation were very romantic about Marx, and they lived their lives also like that. So they named their child Marx and Lenin. They just conveniently left poor Engels out of it, and also poor Feuerbach out of it. So Marx, Lenin, Marlino, that name they gave, that was very innovative of these professors, both mother and father. Interesting. Similarly, when you talk about this Shahabuzaman, if I get the name correct, but that reminds me of another Pakistani's name, that is Khalikuzaman. If I am not wrong, he wrote that book, Pathway to Pakistan. Khalikuzaman was very popular in his time, and Pathway to Pakistan, he was very ambitious, very hopeful, very positive. But what happened to Pathway to Pakistan and Khalikuzaman's thinking? But fortunately, Khalikuzaman was not a professor of political science. This Shahabuzaman is supposed to be a professor in IR, International Relations, which basically is a political science area. And the political scientist, that's why I start speaking about Marx. Marx, of course, is not a political scientist, basically. He is supposed to be a philosopher. That is where he gets a speculative instinct of philosophizing, typical of the European philosophers. And Marx also had his PhD on materialistic philosophy, namely Epicurean philosophy. So, this particular professor of Bangladesh has started romanticizing, very interestingly, fantasies he started creating You see, you look at Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon is one of the political thinker. He speaks of four ideals of states. They are very instructive. I'm not ridiculing them, but they're very instructive. But they're speculations. He's very instructive, undoubtedly very instructive. Bacon speaks about four idols of the theatre, idols of the cave, idols of the marketplace, idols of the theatre, and one more idol, if I remember, I'll tell you. So all these places from where you get ideas, which is ideology. There is just stuffed in your mind in shaping your thoughts and making you behave in society. So, similarly, you have Machiavelli, political scientist, and there are the many thinkers who speculate. John Mill, he spoke about on liberty. His book is there, On Liberty. So, this professor of international relations suddenly, when he sees a situation in Bangladesh, that he is already connected with Jamaat-e-Islami. He is already connected with Jamaat-e-Islami. His relations to Jamaat-e-Islami is nothing new. So he had been a Jamaat-e-Islami person. So that Islamic fantasies, the whole world should be Islamic, and they are so convinced that Islam is the right thing, Islam is the right way to live in, and they are more convinced of a life after death. This is where they become very absolutely ridiculously unscientific. You have no idea what a life after death. You have no idea of your own life here in this world. I am telling you that you have no idea about your life in this world, because you have never anticipated your life after the age of 65. How you will live, or after the age of 68, or maybe something like that. How life will be at that age, when you're old. I'm sure no one has ever thought about how your life will be after you get old. You see, all of us, in fact, you means all, we continue to think that we will be like this, with all the energy and vigor and that virulent mind that we can keep doing things. But after a age, all these things get stopped or reduced to negligibility. So that you have not thought about. Now, these people in their religion thinks of life after death. Of course, they have absolutely no way of finding out what is life after death. But they love to cherish. They love to think in terms of, speculate in terms of life after death as the most beautiful event which is possible for any human existence. So they just don't bother about life living here, they bother about the life after death. And most likely they were very sure that after death you will become young and you will have all the kinds of youthful energy which one used to enjoy at one particular time in his life. So this Sahabul Zaman, if I get the name, I'm not sure that name is correct, is very positive about many things he wants to say. He suddenly finds Jamaat-e-Islami basically. So suddenly he finds Jamaat-e-Islami is getting a grip over Bangladesh at the instance of Americans, and the Muslim world should be very careful about the deep state which is playing. They'll let the Muslims nations go loose, and in all sense, if that's very sensible, the people behind it, if they're very sensible, they are very crafty in letting the Muslim nations go loose towards a situation of self-destruction. No one has to do anything. They'll destroy within themselves. If is it the case, that is a sincere doubt they have. Are they trying to make these people self-destroy by letting them loose? It's an old technique in the Bharatiya Darshan Parampara, the technique of Tantra. Not Tantra has got many phases. I'm only talking about one phase. That's, see, your sense organs suggests you to involve sensuousness, into sensuousness or sensuously. And if you're a sane man, this is underlined and in capital letters it will be written, if you're a sane man of understanding, and if you let your sense organs loose, the sense organs will immediately understand in the futility and the emptiness of things as it gets involved more. This is not meant for everyone. It's only meant for very sensible people. We call them as ideas. So, are they trying the same thing? Let these people get everything whatever they want. Let them have their kind of rule. They will go to self-destruction, which is going to be a fact. It may take time. We may not see it in our own lifetime, but things are heading towards that. So that part, no one's. I don't think people have been thinking in that lens. Anyway, this is my sincere doubt. This is what I think. I feel so. So this Shahabi Zaman wants to enter into relations with Pakistan. They are one-time enemy because the Pakistanis were accused of destroying Bengali civilization, Bengali culture. Now there is a question: if there is a Bengali culture, it's a Hindu culture, and if there is nothing like a Muslim Bengali culture, these two are two different things. Islam has nothing much to do with Bengali culture, and being a Bengali, you cannot adopt Islamic culture completely because you are not an Arab. You are come from the Qurayshi kind of clan or their area and their kind of Islam. Even your mother tongue itself is different from theirs. So you can't be a Muslim in that sense of the term. At the same time, you can't be a Bengali in the proper sense of the term. So they do have an identity crisis. Everywhere there is converted Muslims live, they do have an identity crisis. They neither this nor that. Until you live in Bharat. Because here things are streamlined beautifully that sanskara, Sanskriti is detached from your religion. Religion is a matter of faith. Sanskriti is what we live. The people of Bharat, the Muslims here, all those who understand this will have comfortable living because their religion is intact and their Sanskrit is also intact. They live in both things. Like we Hindus also live in both things. We don't blend them, we don't mix them. Anyway, that's a different area of discussion. So this person wants Bangladesh to enter into some kind of contract with Pakistan in particular and put nuclear arsenals at the borders. Bangladesh is surrounded by Bharat, 3 sides and 1 side ocean. They want to put nuclear arsenals and they think they can go for a battle with Bharat. They think they can threaten us with their obtained nuclear arsenals. Initially, when I heard the professor's name, I mistook him for a professor of physics. They have this technical now. Maybe he has some idea about nuclear missiles, etc. Maybe he is into making one thing. This is the impression I got. But then suddenly I come to know he is from IR, International Relations, and like the Marxist professors of our times, this man is also speculating about the possibility of keeping the arsenals, nuclear weapons towards the border or at the border or things like that, and poor Bharat will get scared and they can have their way. This is very ridiculously interesting. Ridiculously interesting. This man sits and speculates. Or is he paid? Is it a different question? Because if you search the internet, you don't see much of this Shahabul Zaman as professor. We don't see much of his writings. We don't find. What is he? We don't know. But he comes with this kind of prediction. And Dhaka University, of course, used to be good at one time before they killed all the Hindu professors. They had dearth of intellectuals at one time. Anyway, this being intellectual or this obsession with being intellectual is a kind of disease which many people in academia, especially the Marxist inclined thinkers, suffer from. Suddenly you find them speaking of very vague and unclear kind of confusing statements, quoting from someone equal to them from some foreign land. They start revering some names which you have never heard, and if you try to read that person, you will find it utterly funny. Such raving, mad speculations people do make, and many people quote them as that is the thing. Why they do it is because they just don't understand what had been written. They just wanted to quote. So this kind of quotation intellectuals are a very common phenomenon. He said so and so, so and so, said so and so, so and so, so and so, and this person will never say what I want to say. But here, this professor of international relations, Sahab Zaman, if I'm right, is talking about obtaining nuclear weapons and threatening Bharat, and Jamaat Islami can have their way. It's interesting. In any case, let people live. Someone has written a poetry when we were schoolboys. Foolish notions in upper plate and full moon and all kinds of things. Anyway, this is what is happening. Let these people suffer from their own. So get suffocated from their own waste. What else? We shall meet again. Till then, Namaste, Jai Bharat and Jai Sierra.